Hey everyone, you are listening to the Self-Awareness Journey podcast. This little banter is about a car ride long and features your hosts, JJ Parker and Melissa Albers. JJ owns a tech company and Melissa has been a coach working with influencers for the last 18 years. So this week, JJ, you and I, as we always do before we record these podcasts, we kind of sit and figure out what are we going to talk about this week. And I was all fired up because I had like 3 what I thought were really good ideas. And you've had a little rough couple of weeks. And I could just tell that they were just not going over well at all. And and sort of this topic erupted on the scene soon after. And it is the topic of self-care, taking care of ourselves.
Yes. Because I was not since I was not doing self-care and I was not taking care of myself, like I could barely even get my brain around some of the deeper topics we wanted to talk about.
I know. Well, and I would just say from knowing you years and years and years, it's very seldom that you get to that place.
Yeah.
Very, very seldom. Me either. I think we were both pretty good about sort of staying in the zone or trying to stay in the middle zone of our lives and how we're feeling. And every once in a while, we just like seem to throw ourselves off of a cliff.
Well, before you called me out on my lack of self-care yesterday, earlier in the week, we do this, we do our like daily stand-up with my leadership team.
Yeah.
And like the guys, like we all hop on, it's like a Zoom call, and I was just goofy. Like I didn't really have anything useful. I wasn't barely paying attention. And I realized and I actually told them I don't know what's going on today, but I'm just not feeling it.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, maybe you need to take some time off. I'm like, no, I don't. I don't need to take any time off. What are you talking about? Doing awesome. What are we working on? So it actually got into a little bit of a conversation about how I didn't actually take any time off over the holidays.
Yeah, which then we talked about that too.
Yeah. And my teenagers have been whipping up tons of drama around our house and being super, they've been excelling at being teenagers.
Yeah, I was just going to say they're just being like really, and they're so good at it.
So good at it. And it just so dramatic. So
you were getting it from both ends. You were having a very, very busy work environment. There was a lot of stuff going on at work. Your side projects have also been super, super busy right now.
Yeah.
And then you had no safe place at home because your home life was also crazy energy.
Yes. So all of the energy around me was pretty chaotic.
Yeah.
And I wasn't doing anything about it.
Yeah.
Actually, what I was doing about it was just feeding into it more. Like I was just
How do you think you were feeding into it more?
I think I was just trying to do more work, trying to do more things. I was just getting
caught up.
Sounds like a downward spiral. It's almost more like an upward spiral. It's like I was getting so wrapped around the axle around things.
I think that
and I wasn't taking any time. Like in my head, I was just like, no, I just got to do the next thing. I just got to do the next thing. I just got to keep going. I got to go deal with this. I got to go deal with that. And it just energy split all over the place, and I didn't stop at all.
Yeah. When did you notice?
Well, I probably noticed at that meeting at work when I couldn't even participate. I was my energy was just so
done. You were just
frenetic.
Done. Crispy is what I call it when I get like that.
Crispy, that's a good word. And then when you and I talked, of course, you're like, well, you didn't take any time off and you've been doing this. You've been doing yes, Melissa, I know.
Actually, it was worse than that. I said, well, I'm glad next week you're taking some time, and you're like, I'm not taking time
off.
And I was like, oh, here we are in this part of the program. I recognize this, although it's usually me. It's usually me, not you.
What's taking time off gonna do? That doesn't make any sense.
Self-care, don't be ridiculous. There's too many other things to worry about.
Do that later when I'm dead.
I'll do it later. But you know what? Here we are, like big, enthusiastic supporters of self-awareness.
Oh yeah, I know, right? And
we get, just like anybody else, I think we get tripped up in our own lives, tripped up in our own processes, and God, when you're in the middle of it, I think it takes a Herculean effort to actually notice to how far in you are. And then it's even harder to decide, how in the hell do I get out? Like, I am so unhappy. Like, I am just really unhappy.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Like, we talk a couple times a week exclusively about the topic of self-awareness. We do a podcast on it. Like, it should be top of mind for me, right?
Yeah.
Yet I didn't notice for like weeks.
Yeah, well.
Until you called me out on it.
Seriously?
Well, I mean, I probably sensed it a little bit, but it didn't hit me like, oh, yep, okay. It's definitely do need to take a break because I'm not being helpful to actually anybody, including myself at this point.
Yeah.
But isn't that funny how sometimes it takes someone else to call you out on it? And a lot of times, like, people don't like getting called out on
I don't.
Their own stuff.
No, nobody likes that, including me. I don't like that at all. You know what's funny, though? I think what we're talking about right now is how to take care of ourselves and like the habits of keeping ourselves cared for, but then the habit of covering up when we're not.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah, because we think we are hiding how yucky we feel. We think we're hiding it.
Yeah.
I think we think we're just doing it and no one notices.
I know. That's the funny thing is that in one of the lessons, we talked about that in the feelings lesson, right? We talked about how, like, when we have feelings, we think we can actually hide them, and we think we're actually really good at it.
Yeah.
And it turns out we're really crappy at it. Everyone knows it, and everyone's just playing this, like, game.
Walking around us. Yeah, shh, don't say anything. So we know how it feels now when we're feeling yucky, like when we're not practicing self-care and we find ourselves in this sort of hole, like we dig a hole.
So how do you feel? Like, how do you know when you're not, like, practicing self-care?
Yeah.
How do you know when you've gotten too far?
Well, actually, I think even though we're very opposite in personality, I think it's very much the same thing. I, first of all, start feeling more tired than normal, and mentally, I feel more mentally tired, and physically, I feel more tired. And like if I have practices that I do, such as yoga or whatever, walking or snowshoeing, because it's winter and I love that, I stop doing those because I'm too tired. And then I quickly will justify why I'm too tired. So it starts with me feeling tired. And then as soon as I have awareness that I'm tired and that I have stopped doing something for a day or two, then I get crabby. I get really crabby and I'm mad at myself. I'm so mad at myself, but it ends up coming out at other people. Even though I may think I'm covering that up, I get short and I don't know. I don't want to talk. And I sure don't want to be called out. It's like, don't look at me. Just ignore the fact that I'm having a really hard time.
Yeah.
That's what I do. So I think it's probably very similar. Maybe not to the, I think I've really honed it to a great skill.
Yeah, it's funny how we can, like, recognize those patterns in ourselves. For me, for sure, it's like I start over producing. I start getting into so many things all at the same time.
Yeah.
Which
Leaking energy.
And then none of it is good. Yeah, I can do like a whole bunch of like half-ass work.
Yeah.
But I just seen them more and more and more.
Yeah, I actually, now that you say that, because even when we were having our conversation about a project we were working on, you did say that. You said, well, I've started this. I've kept it in my email box and I haven't done it, and it's causing me a lot of anxiety.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. It'd be interesting for the people listening today to think about their pattern of unwinding. Yeah. You know, what their habit of getting to that place of not taking care of themselves and realizing they're all out.
Yeah. How does it ultimately, how does it manifest itself? Like when you kind of act out.
Yeah.
When you're not taking care of yourself, and then working backwards, right? It's like, okay, what are some clues along the way? So
yeah.
Like, and maybe start noticing it earlier.
Yeah, I agree. So like, let's just talk about that. Like, let's just kind of talk about like the path back. Like, once you are in this spot, what do you do once so, I mean, I think the first thing is like, okay, here I am, like recognizing and owning the fact that we're in this spot, right? Like, all right, I'm just going to admit to myself, I'm really stressed out. I'm really unhappy. I haven't taken any time. I'm fried. Once we admit it to ourselves.
Then what I do immediately is start like 1 or 2 or 3 more companies. Immediate. If not, actually start them, just register some domain names because it makes me feel better.
And I start making huge commitments like, I think I'm going to write a book. In 3 weeks. All right, so we set ourselves up with maybe some unrealistic expectations.
Failures right away.
Okay.
No, it's a good question. Like, what do we do? Like, actually, like, literally, right now, the question is, what am I going to do? Because we had this conversation about taking care of myself yesterday. Yeah. And here I am today, and we're going to figure it out. Let's figure it out together.
Do you feel like
next week I'm going to go hang out with my boys for the week out in the mountains. Yeah. Because we're online school and on remote work, and I said, hey, we can do that from anywhere, so let's go do that from Colorado. Uh-huh. But like I told you, there's no way I'm taking that week off. We're working through it. So maybe what I should start with was taking 1 or 2 of those days off. And just,
or 3.
Not working on anything.
Yeah. I think too, again, both of us are such high producers. We have high expectations of what we can produce. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves to constantly be producing. And I think the big part here is getting angry because we feel guilty taking a break.
Yep. That's what we're just reflected on now. Like, I am currently not practicing what I preach at work. So at work, every new employee, part of their onboarding, we talk about it in our monthly meetings. I talk about like mental health. Yes. Right. It's very important for me. It's very important for our organization. And often I say, hey, sometimes you might get overwhelmed and you just need a mental health day. Take it. Exactly. Take a mental health day. Yep. Like, it's okay here. Yeah. It's safe here to do that.
Yes. And you encourage people that all the time.
But I'm not doing it myself.
Right.
Right. Here we are. I haven't done that. I should have done that. I didn't. And now I'm like on the edge.
Yeah. On the edge. You're maybe a little over the edge. You might be just like,
You gotta get to the edge just to know, just to look over every once in a while.
Don't hurl yourself over. Don't hurl yourself over.
No, I just take a peek.
Yeah, I think that's true. Is like, again, taking your own inventory. And that's what I've done too. So as a matter of fact, like, I felt really, really fried right before the holidays, and I always take that time off between Christmas and New Year's, and I did that again, and I really, really unplugged, and that made me feel so much better I can't even tell you.
I know it was
only did
annoying me.
things-
I was trying to get all this stuff done, and you're
I
like
know.
MIA.
I know. I'm like, nope, I don't want to record anything. Nope, I don't want to go anywhere. Nope, I'm not writing anything. I'm eating, actually.
Well, so for you, that unplugged time, that reset time is helps you get back to that centered state.
Well, and you know what? It's funny though, because that's not the only thing. Like just taking that time off wouldn't have been enough. Because if I would have just taken that time off and then entered back into the experiment, like merged back onto the freeway at the same speed that I had been, I would have been right back to that state before I took time off. So,
what a great analogy.
Yep.
Like that, like merging right back onto the same highway.
At the same speed that I had left it. And I think
that's interesting.
So what I have noticed just in the conversation today and even yesterday when we started talking about these ideas and earlier today, I think getting that time away just brought me to a place where I was more quiet. And then from that place, I started making decisions about what I was going to do going forward so that I could feel better. And that I didn't feel like I was just hiding from myself from a week off, but that I was actually going to employ some different things. So like, for example, what I did is I took the time off and then I really took the time off. I mentally took the time off, physically, everything. And but then when I decided I was coming back, I was like, you know what? What am I going to do? Like because I had stopped practicing yoga, I had stopped meditating because I was in a really bad, crusty spot myself. And I just decided, okay, I don't want to enter into the new year now with 100 goals. Because that feels stressful, and that's just going to make me feel like I have to punch the accelerator down even more. But what if I don't think about it like that? What if I just think, you know what, today I'm going to do a yoga practice, but I'm not going to do my normal one. I'm not going to do the all-out 1 hour, kill myself. I'm going to modify it and do something that's just easier for me. So I did a 20-minute vinyasa flow, which is still moving and everything, but not nearly the same expectation. So it was something that was familiar, but it wasn't the same thing.
Yeah.
And because I was more calm, I was able to give myself that permission to not make it all out. So like, that's kind of what I started to do.
I like that advice. Like, it's not like when you get overwhelmed and you're not taking care of yourself. It's not like the point's not maybe a timeout.
Yeah.
Right? Don't put myself in a timeout and not do anything for a week and then come back and just keep my same routines, right?
Yeah.
It really maybe take that time to think about, okay, what got me here?
Yeah.
What are the things I'm going to change so I don't get back into this state, or else we're just going to keep repeating it, right?
And I think a big, huge part of that is the self-judgment. I think letting ourselves off the hook. It's like, you know, we all seem to have a little perfectionism streak about what we are, who we are, what we do, our expectations of ourselves. And I think a lot of this is, you know what, I got out of my flow. I got out of my rhythm. I feel tired. I feel spent. And that's okay for me to say that. And now I'm going to just like, how can I just give myself some grace so that I can reassess?
Yeah. Part of it's like you don't want to admit that that you're not in a healthy spot.
No.
Right?
Isn't that funny? I mean, isn't that funny?
It is funny. Like, especially around mental health, right? There's such a stigma around it. Like if you've got the flu, right? Everyone's like, hey, I got the flu. I'm not coming to work, or I'm not doing this or not doing that. Like, you got to do the dishes and deal with the kids because I got the flu.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's like physical illness. It's just like, just like, here it is.
That's so good.
But the mental health, when you're not feeling good mentally, it's like no one wants to admit that. No one wants to talk about it. Everyone thinks they can just somehow
suck it up,
power through it, you know, and get through it, or it'll just go away. Yeah. Right. And they don't give it any care to heal.
Right.
Right. Like you would your physical body.
Right. Right. And, when you see other people that are in that state, we usually give them grace. We usually give them grace. 99% of the time we say, oh, well, they're probably having a bad day, or, ooh, I can tell they're really this, but we would never give ourselves that same grace right out of the gate.
That's true. Yep.
So I think, like just understanding that sometimes we do reach this level of unaware sensing, like how we're feeling. We're just unaware of how much we've gotten wrapped around the axle. I think.
So the thing that I always think about when I am feeling, because sometimes self-care feels selfish.
Yeah.
Self-care feels selfish. Like if I'm going to say, hey, like, I'd say a lot of my guilt would more come around like my family, right? Like, hey, I have to tell my wife, like, no, especially when the kids were littler. Yeah. No, I'm going to go play tennis, right? That's been one of my like self-care things for a long time. Is like, this is how I unwind and get my brain to stop working on, work. But taking that time, a lot of times I feel guilty going to do that. But I know if I didn't go do those activities and come back more refreshed, I would just be like an ass and not be helpful to anybody. Right?
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of the airline thing. It's like put your own mask on before helping others, right?
Yeah.
Like if I'm not taking care of myself, I'm not helping anyone else. I'm not being useful to the people I care about and who depend on me. Right. So while it does feel initially it feels selfish to say, hey, I need some time alone here. My personality as an introvert, I really do need time alone.
Right.
To reset. I need to go do. I need to take this time to take care of physically myself, because I know how that affects me if I don't. Right. I'm not taking care of my body. I needed to go do these things to take care of my brain. Might be to go do these other things to take care of like my soul. Right. And it feels selfish, but really it's not. It's really not, because again, if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not useful to anybody.
Right. And I also think too, is so we feel that self-judgment and that guilt about it. Like, that's so selfish of me to want to do this. But I think the other thing that comes into play a lot is that the act of taking care of ourselves takes energy from us. And I think we convince ourselves, at least I do, like, oh, if I'm going to start getting back into doing all of this to take care of myself, that takes so much energy, and I don't have the energy to even do these base things that I already feel guilty about. Yeah. So it's just it's a mind game. It's a mind game.
So when you've gotten to the bottom, right, it's really hard to restart that. Yeah. So
yes.
One of the things that would be awesome if we could do all the time, which is not possible, so don't worry about it, is somehow maintain self-care over a long period of time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like how do you when you're going on stretches where you feel like you've been taking care of yourself, maybe for a few months in a row, like what are you doing during that time? How are you doing that?
I would say that for me, I try to do some sort of physical movement, some sort of yoga activity or something, because otherwise my body feels sore and stiff. And every time I move, it reminds me that I'm not taking care of myself and I feel terrible. So I usually try to do some sort of activity, physical activity, not much, like just even if it's just a little bit every other day or something like that. The other thing that I try to do is to catch myself thinking thoughts that are not helpful. I'm feeling so achy. I'm getting old. I don't feel good. I don't think that I'm starting to look old. So it's like, these are ridiculous thoughts, but these are the thoughts that start to encroach on my health if I'm not doing things. So if I can just do a little bit like that, then I always just feel like, oh, I feel pretty good today. Like I did that. Oh, I don't feel sore. Like I feel energetic, and that makes me feel good. So even just in the moment, little tweaks, like 5-degree tweaks in something I'm thinking, or if I catch a thought pattern that's not helpful, saying, oh, actually, I'm doing a pretty darn good job, and retraining my brain. And those are just those little things in the moment that they may sound silly, but they really are not. Yeah. They're really all consuming if I don't get out ahead of them.
You said something really interesting, like that I have only recently been experiencing, is that when I was younger, like my physical health didn't seem to impact my mental state of being much. As I get older, when I'm feeling like I'm more fit, it really affects my brain. It affects my mood. It affects way. And when I'm not doing that, I can totally tell it's becoming more connected or something. Or
well, I think your awareness is growing.
Maybe.
I think your self-awareness is growing.
So these habits, right? These small daily habits to keep you in a state where you are taking care of yourself and you are feeling good, and trying to be more aware when maybe you start skipping some of those.
Right, exactly.
You would know, like, okay, I'm kind of on a trajectory that's
not helpful.
Not be helpful, so I get back. So, we did an episode about habits.
Yeah.
Ooh, that might have been the last episode. Was that the last episode? It might have been. I don't
remember.
Work amnesia. But building those habits is really a key to self-care, and then not feeling guilty that you're doing self-care.
Yes.
And when you do neglect it and you hit the bottom, just understanding how much energy it's going to take to get back to proper self-care, and just do a little bit at a time, and don't set your expectations too high.
Just a little bit at a time. And I think if you do catch yourself tumbling down the hill, it's okay. It's okay. Help is on the way. You're going to you'll figure it out. You always do. And the fastest way to that is just, again, going back to the little things that we know help us feel better, and not beating ourselves up if it takes us an extra day or two. Yeah. It's just that heavy judgment needs to be set aside so that we can continue to be us on our best day.
Oh, that's great. Yep. Us on our best day. Well, with that, I'm going to go on my trip next week, and I promise you I'm going to take probably at least 14 or 15 minutes off. Work on the self-care.
Now, see, you're just negating all of the good work we just did. I hope you really enjoy your trip, and that you do absolutely unplug so that your energy can return and you can start choosing how you want to be.
I will do that.
We hope that you've enjoyed today's episode. Our mission is to help people become happier and more effective by gaining insight into their own thoughts and feelings. We'd love your support. First, share this podcast with anyone you think might enjoy it. Second, leave us a rating or review on your favorite podcast site. This helps others discover the podcast so we can reach more people. And third, sign up for our newsletter at theselfawarenessjourney.com. This will help us communicate better with you and build our community. Thank you so much for joining us in the Self-Awareness Journey. We'll see you next week.